Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm your host, Monica Pierre. Thank you for joining us today. And we've been talking over the shows of this new season, our seventh season, about what it takes to really rise in your power, to really embrace what it means to be a powerhouse woman. We've had some amazing guests, and our guest today really exemplifies what it means to tap into the various talents and gifts and things that you've been leaning into, not feeling that you're all over the place and can't pick a lane, but to embrace when the time and the season is right. Our guest is the one and only Ty Salvant. We all call her Ty. And listen to this, she's a homeschooling mom of six children. She's an author. She's an advocate, and she just launched a brand new magazine called Time Well Spent magazine. But our conversation today really is more than what it takes to launch a magazine. You're going to find some things that are going to be of interest if that's what you want. But we're talking about purpose. We're talking about impact and hiding behind perfectionism and when to not only recognize it, but to do something about it. We're talking about pivoting. We're talking about what it means to recognize fear and second guessing and doubt and do something about that. So you can get to onto the business of doing what you were put on this earth to do in its many forms. It's not going to be just one thing. And we're going to learn to be okay with not just doing one thing. And it's about doing it whether or not you have a perfect plan or whether or not you feel fully ready. And Ty continues to find ways to brace her multi hyphenated life, tying her passions and her purpose together into multiple endeavors that are aligned. And that's the key, I believe, that it's just not doing things to just be doing things. It must be aligned with your overall North Star or what you've been brought on this planet to do. That's how you go from an idea to an impact. And I sat down with Ty to find out how all this started to come together, all the different pieces. Was it all at once, or was it a little bit of a step by step?
We were volunteering as a couple. We had a child. We integrated those into things into our lives. I was working at the time, then became a stay at home mom, then a homeschooler. So it's like little bits and pieces over time. One of the things I joke about is I would love to see, one of my prayers is, can I just see, like, pull back the curtain? I want to see, like, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And then I think I'm like, God's like, that will scare you, my dear. So I am going to give you like this one little piece here. And once you've got it all incorporated, then it will drop another piece. Another thing that I absolutely love is I feel like I was born in that one of the last generation that felt like we had to do the same career for the rest of our lives, right? Like you went to school, you did this, and this is all you did. Whereas, like right after us, it was, oh, well, you can do this, and then you can pivot, and then you can do something else, and then you can pivot. So I am embracing that ability to pivot to make sure that I can incorporate the ventures that I am called to do. In ways that are meaningful for me and impactful for others.
And I love what you said about, because again, I was the previous generation, basically, where you picked that lane, stayed in that lane, even if it was killing you emotionally and inside. But to pivot without judgment, because sometimes we pivot, but oh well, all I can do is this. But that's all part of all of the things and the gifts that you've been given to put them into the world and manifest them. When you work with women in particular, is there a point where they feel a little guilty about letting go of what was, or incorporating some new, or making it look totally different? Are they feeling a certain kind of way and have to work through that?
And that's one of the things that is a little frustrating for me. And I think also encourages me to push a little more because so many women say, okay, well, I'm going to wait until the kids are out of the house. I'm going to wait until, well, now it's my time. Where I am modeling for my children how to make those pivots in real time. And it's not that I'm going to wait until you're gone for me to have a life, for me to focus on my relationship with dad, for me to have fun with my friends. Like, we're going to figure out how to do those things together.
And those things together, especially now, because again, you have so many passions and talents. Are some of them strictly because you love them? Or have you decided that I'm going to put this into the world and I'm going to also show other powerhouse women and others that this is your livelihood and can be your livelihood? And that one thing doesn't have to be the New York Times bestseller and the end all and be all of everything. Incrementally, these things bring revenue, bring income into the house.
Yes. And so definitely we've all heard of having multiple streams of income, right? And are all figuring out how to do that. And for me, yes, with the books that I've written, if I focused on those and pushed those more and just went all in on those, then I would, right, have more book sales. But that's not where I feel called to invest all of my time and energy. And so those books are going to be here. I find myself reading books that authors wrote 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and it's still great. And I'm still appreciative that they wrote that book. And so I think that's going to happen with my books too, right? That people are still going to read those, but that's not the only place where I want to make an impact. The people who read, that's fantastic. But for the ones who won't read the book, but will read a magazine or take part in a calendar or attend an event, that I can impact those people as well. And yes, just this whole part about creating my livelihood from this, it's one of those things where when you sit back and think, well, if money didn't matter, how would I spend my time? And I'll look at those things and say, okay, well, this is how I want to spend my time. And money does matter.
Money
So
does matter.
how can
Money does matter.
I do both of those together? Right. And most of the endeavors that I take part in, yes, like I am making a path for myself, but I'm bringing everybody I know along with me, right? So I'm like, okay, wait, can you contribute to the magazine? Can you write? Can I amplify your voice? Can, we promote your product in here so that it really does become a space for multiple people, specifically women, to get promoted and seen by different audiences.
Let's talk about your magazine. And first of all, I am so proud of you because it's a physical copy or a digital. I mean, people aren't doing those things. I'm going, she is doing a magazine. How did that great idea come about that led to what will be impact?
Little seeds that were planted years ago about a magazine that it just sat there dormant. Seemingly it was dormant, right? And I was working on a multi-author book event where we were collecting stories to be able to celebrate the lives of mothers, mentors, and movements. And it was really important for me to memorialize this in a place where people could have a physical copy, because again, we often don't realize the impact that we have on other people. And so to be able to have that and look back on that and see your picture and what somebody wrote about you, it just gave me all the feels. And so I was sharing with a friend, hey, you know what? Like I want a physical copy of this. I don't know what it looks like yet. And she was like, have you ever thought about doing a magazine? And I was like, huh. I was like, I mean, like, not in a long time, but maybe. And I was like, if there were a magazine, like what would be in this magazine? And I was like, well, like things we're talking about, questions we have, information we need. So I reached out to some friends and said, hey, would you be interested in contributing an article to this magazine? And it was an overwhelming, like, yes. And so we have information in there on all sorts of wellness. So from physical and mental and emotional, but also political, right? Um, yes, I am so excited about the information that we are sharing and the impact, and it all is wrapped around this premise of spending your time well. So it's called Time Well Spent. And the whole idea is you take this magazine and you sit down for a few minutes and you read a little bit. And above the table of contents, you have like little permission slips, right? Because sometimes we do need permission to step back, to say no, to say yes to something that we want. And then at the end, it has a menu with, if you have 5 minutes, here are like three things you can do. If you have 10 minutes, here are three things you can do. Because as women, we often feel like we don't have time. Oh my gosh, we don't have time. There's no time. I would love to take care of myself. I would love to exercise. I would love to, but there's no time. And it's like, okay, so number one, right? There is time. We have to find it sometimes. If you literally do not have 5 minutes in your day for some deep breathing, there is something very wrong with where you are. Now, believe me, I have been there, right? I have been in a space to where I thought there was no time, but I also had to challenge the way that I thought it needed to look, right? So
Right.
no, I didn't have time to go to the gym that was 20 minutes away and work out for an hour and, go take a shower and come back. And I didn't have that 2 hour window, but I had, 10 minutes to do this exercise or some stretching or so this just gives you an idea on how you can make time to take care of yourself.
Right. And oftentimes we have a default saying or default setting. We automatically go to that. Our first response is this. And is it a truth or is it a lie?
Hmm.
You know the old game, two truths and a lie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
that that's a lie. But it's not to reprimand. We're doing better because we're knowing better and we're getting great information.
Yes, just this whole part about creating my livelihood from this. It's one of those things where when you sit back and think, well, if money didn't matter, how would I spend my time? And I'll look at those things and say, okay, well, this is how I want to spend my time. And money does matter.
Money
So
does matter.
how can
Money does matter.
I do both of those together?
What a such an amazing, amazing conversation with Ty. And I want to give you information on where you can find out about the magazine and all of the things that Ty does. And I mentioned she's an author, she's an advocate, she's a homeschooling mother of six amazing, amazing children. But you can go to her website, Time with Ty, and that's ty.com, and you'll see the tab for the magazine, and it can be the digital form, or you can get a copy of the print form, or you can do both. Whatever, whatever, whatever. As she was speaking, I really was resonating with so many things that Ty was saying. And one of them that I heard it again and I really made note of it was that we will get these seeds, these little things that are dropped in either our spirit or come to our mind or come to our remembrance. And we may not be in a position, or it may not be the exact time to start sowing that seed and planting that seed, but you don't forget about that seed. Basically, things that you can do include making note on this day, June 25th, 2026. This idea came to me. Write it down. You may store it, and it may not come up for a year or two or longer, but don't dismiss it as not important because the season or the timing may not be right. So that's very important. In fact, many things that come to mind that I do, I just make note of them and I'm going, I don't know if this is a book title, if this is a talk, if this is something to include in the Storymaker Academy, or that I could share with someone else. I've done it where I wrote it down and I said, this is good. This is gold. Maybe not for me. And I will pass it along. I said, look, this came to me. And if there's something you can do with it, this idea, and it will lead to impact, go take it. I want you to have it. So it just depends on where you are with that. And a couple of other points that she made, waiting can feel prudent at all times, but okay, Cynthia, thank you, Cynthia, for joining us. That's journal work. Absolutely, that is journal work because we need to write it down. My heart is so full about so many things that have been happening. A dear friend helped me and us, Paul, to over the weekend to clear out a closet that had turned into like a place, like an archive where documents would go to rest finally forever. And one of the things that I pulled out of there was a letter, and I'm going to work very hard to get through this and not become emotional. But you know how you keep, tax documents way past, at least I have, way past when you can or should keep them. So we were going through that and some things like equipment, like I can't even play. Where do I put this floppy disk to play it? I don't even know what's on it. And I'm going through pictures and I keep all of the postcards and all of the cards that people send me so I can have them. Who knows? And I came across a letter that was written by my mother to me. And it was dated at April, it was around Easter, but 2000, the year 2000, in which my mama says, I just want to thank you for the checks that you sent us. Daddy just said that he had $7 left in his wallet and he was feeling kind of down about that. And I said, oh, Monica just sent you a check. And she said he started smiling. He got happy. And my mother just thanked us. And sometimes we get ideas and sometimes we think our lives really haven't had as much of an impact. And it did. And I don't even remember how much the checks were. I mean, I'm sure they were with a reasonable amount. They weren't $1 million, I can tell you that much. But it was so important that my mother wrote. So again, journal work. And Cynthia, when you said that, it's amazing. And so you're keeping what? College notebooks and obituaries. Yes. But here, if you can hang on to them, they become the archives of your lives. They become your presidential center, right? They become a place where you can find these treasures. Had no idea we were going in that direction. That's why I love a live show. You just never, ever, ever know. Oh, so again, and I don't know, because sometimes I wish I could have done more for my parents. I wish I could have done bigger things for my parents, but it was the things that I did that they treasured. It wasn't the amount. And she ended it by saying that she was so glad that their children were doing well and that they would come and see them. That's where the gold was. That's where the real check was. Not just the money that came right on time, thank you God, but spending time with people, using our gifts. Okay, as they say, I digress, but I wanted to digress for just a second. Also, perfect timing, perfection. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much. Perfection. All of those things, when they're used as a reason not to do something, not to even try, not to even see if the thought that you had and the idea that you had can come to fruition. And step one is the best possible step at the time. You won't even know if it's actually working until you take stock and you continue on with it. So we don't need a perfect plan. We don't need perfect confidence. We don't need a perfect outcome. We need to start. If the season is right, we need to start. And what we're working on doesn't have to show up in all of its glory all at one time. And that's one of the things that Ty talked about. And then community. You're going to hear a lot about why community is important. We talk about it in the work that I do. I'm sure you talk about it in the work that you do. I'm sure you're benefiting from community and your circle and people. When Ty talked about starting the magazine, she reached out. She reached out to people she knew. There are people in your circle. A couple of weeks ago, we had Stephanie Mbelu on, and she talked about the power of your network and tapping into that network. Everything you need is in that network, in your network to start, to figure out, not to run it by everybody and their mom. I'm not suggesting that, but to get a perspective if you need it, get a contact if you need it. Maybe that person is not the one eventually who will provide everything you need, but I'm sure that person knows someone who knows someone who knows someone standing next to someone who could possibly help you as well. So you have a big, big gift that you've been given. Even if you don't think it's big, it is big. And Powerhouse Women, we need community. We have community, our network, very important. So let's make sure we honor them, we tap into them, and we don't use not knowing what to do, who to turn to as an excuse. So one of the things that I created Storymaker Academy, and we always end the show with talking a little bit about that, is because you, powerhouse woman, you have an idea you've been carrying around. You have story and stories that you've been thinking aren't important. You have wisdom, perspective, and you have life experiences that are hard to put a dollar value on. But second guessing keeps us from doing anything. So let's work on making sure that we get from that stage of not doing to figuring it out and telling our story. Telling our story. I love stories. I embrace stories. I help people with stories. And oftentimes, when I work with people and I interview them, we get to the story, right? We get to the story because that's what you're going to remember. That's what is so important to it. Let's see. Oh, hello there. So glad to be soaking up knowledge. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, one of our Storymaker Academy graduates. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I do have a powerful, powerful community. So we can talk about Storymaker Academy. If there's information you need, just reach out to me. Go to storymakeracademy.com. And that's our show. So again, don't dismiss that seed. Don't dismiss that whisper. Don't dismiss the way you do things. Because if you look around and compare, you will never do anything. I would never do anything. Not to say anything that I'm bragging, but I would not wait to start the Powerhouse Woman show until I had everything. It was right after COVID, and we didn't have much, right? We didn't even know what we'd be doing the next day. I started with the tools. One of my colleagues in news, she says, "Oh, we're using StreamYard, and it's great to do interviews." I said, "Say no more." And I started the next week. Imperfectly, yes. Shadows, yes. Lighting was horrible. Yes, I didn't have a backdrop. I didn't have anything, but I had an audience, and there were people who just wanted to hear a familiar face. They weren't worried about lighting. They weren't worried about the sound. They weren't worried about comments that other people may have made. They just wanted a connection. So promise yourself that you're going to either dust off that dream, plant that seed, figure out who you need to talk to, and take the next or the first best step. I hope something that you heard today really, really resonates with you. We have work to do, Powerhouse Women. We really do. And playing small and kind of going, I don't know what to do. We're going to stop that because we know what to do and where to find what to do. And we're going to do it. And whether it's perfect or imperfect or with wobbly knees or we're scared, we're going to do it because these times, the way the world is today, right? We are all saying that, but they never add. And because of the world and the way it is today, I am doing this now. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week with another edition of the Powerhouse Woman Show. Bye bye now.